these guys were unable to deal with Stephen, and so they secretly induced men to say, we heard him blaspheme against the temple and Moses. They stirred up the people. The elders came and dragged him away before the council. Stephen's getting the same treatment that Jesus did. It parallels it in an amazing way. And he's going before the same council that killed Jesus and flogged the disciples. It's kind of interesting. This is the way, this is how this leadership works. This spiritual group of people, these men of God operate. They lie and they kill and they put forward false witnesses that are speaking against the holy temple. And the temple had become an idol. And it's easy for the church building to become an idol. A lot of times, ministry doesn't take place because, the sacred building. Now, the building was put up 50, 75, 100 years ago, in their case, hundreds of years ago, to accommodate the Lord moving. Okay? And when you turn the building into this sacred place, and it is a sacred place, but you have to be careful that it doesn't supersede the whole point of the ministry. Here's where the story gets kind of exciting. They sit Stephen down for speaking against Moses, and it says that his face shone like that of an angel. Now, remember the last time that happened in Scripture? Wasn't it when Moses came down from the mountain? Moses comes down from the mountain and his face is shining. And they're saying, you're speaking against Moses, and who does he look like? Moses. In other words, God is saying, actually, I'm rather pleased with Stephen. This is in Exodus 34. And here's Stephen. He's in charge of the tables, feeding the widows, and he's doing miracles. And now he's about to preach a sermon that is 53 verses long. Okay? Relax. We're going to just deal quickly with the sermon. But here's the point I want to make. Well, that's not my area of giftedness. Hold on. Why put limitations on the way God might use you? Jesus says, let it be done to you according to your faith. Hey, if you're in a situation where your child needs healing, don't say, I wish that was my area of giftedness. Say, Lord, I need healing right now, and bring your hands and put them on that child. Well, Stephen starts to go off on his sermon. He talks about Abraham and Moses and Joseph. And what he's doing in this sermon is he's showing the Israelites that all through their history, they've blown it. That's the message that he wants to leave them with. Talks about how Abraham, he believed in God and it was reckoned to him as righteousness. It wasn't once he followed the law and got circumcised and obeyed the calling. No, he believed in God. Our faith is what saves us. And when he talks about the descendants, I read this one statement, God has no grandchildren. Think about that. Each must be born into the family via your personal decision. No grandchildren. No grandfather clause. No, you have to make your own decision. Am I going to follow Jesus Christ or not? If you're unwilling to let God speak to you, you're going to end up gnashing your teeth in hate, and you're going to rush forward, and you're going to take Stephen, and you're going to kill him. This is what happens in churches. They're called clergy killers. They run over the pastors. And, some of the pastors, we need to be run over. Okay? Let's be honest. Fact of the matter is, we get lost, get confused, get self-oriented. Yeah. But other times, wow, sometimes rather than getting mad at the messenger, think about the message. The proverb says the wise man listens and considers. And when theology is thrown at me that's different than my way of thinking, you know what I do? I investigate it. I look up all their arguments. I try to understand why they believe what they believe. And even though I don't agree with it, I come to appreciate the spiritual elements underneath it. So that I don't demonize that person. I just see how they're taking the scriptures in a different direction than I was. God doesn't call all of us to be martyrs. But He does call all of us to be a living sacrifice. And are you willing to sacrifice for your Lord? Are you willing to take a little heat because you spoke about God in a non-religious situation, to talk to your friends? You know, I think it's harder to live for Christ than to die for Him. And in Hebrews 12:4, I think this is a crazy verse. It says, "You've not yet resisted to the point of shedding blood in your striving against sin." How serious are you willing to stand up for the Lord? Because I'm hoping you're going to go forward into your workplace, into your home life, into your social circles, and be willing to be a Christian. I'm not saying being offensive or being foolish or stirring up trouble, but with the spirit that's willing to forgive your enemies and care enough to confront and try to bring healing and the words of God that we don't hear anymore. That's Stephen, and that is our model of Christianity today.